All right, all right, all right. Good morning, my family. Let's see. I can make sure everyone can see and hear me. We're here. Everyone okay? Welcome to episode MoB Kaffeeklatsch, episode 110. It's the first MoB Kaffeeklatsch of the year. Hello, everyone. All right, make sure can everyone see me? You guys can hear me and see me? We're all here. Hello, Paige. So let me go start the rounds real quick. Let's see. We have. Good morning, Mary Beth. Good morning, Heather. I'm glad to hear that you're here in Vertical, feeling much better. That's always good to hear. Chris Crispin, those good morning. Jeanette, good morning. Like really early morning. I'm glad you were able to make it and feeling much better. Connie Cleary, good morning. Jasmine, good morning. Let's see who else we got. Someone saying, who says good day? Who's that? 16 degrees, Chris. Please do just keep all of that way over there. Please, please. Good morning, Linda. A drop of rain struck me in the forehead. I'm done for the day. I don't know who that was. I feel bad. I'm sorry that rain. That's a lot. That's a. Oh, John. Good morning, John. Welcome. How's the writing going? Audrey, good morning.
Good day, Jim.
Good morning, Jim. How are you? Okay. It's good to see you guys all here. This is our first MoB Kaffeeklatsch of the year. Awesome. Let me check the new comments. We got a whole bunch. The feed's moving quite quick. Fantastic. Gale warning. Yeah, we're supposed to have a storm today too. But yeah. Hi from Stacy. She wants. Oh, I'm sorry. She has a lot. Tell her big hello and love to the family. All right. 3:30 a.m. Jeanette, and I'm not able to calculate what 18.9 Celsius equals. And I don't think you should at 3:30 at 3:30 a.m. if you're not sleeping. I think you're at a MoB Kaffeeklatsch, definitely. So, how is everyone doing today? Wow, it feels like it's been so long since our MoB. This is the first time it feels like a big gap between Kaffeeklatches. This is the first time. It feels like it's been a long, long time. How's everyone doing? Oh, wow. Oh, I have a latest book out. Fantastic. Bella, hola, welcome. Glad to hear it's going well. Okay, so let's see. We got 18. Well, let's start the shout out. So shout out to everyone on YouTube. Hello, everyone on YouTube. Thank you for being here. Hi, Connie, and everyone else that's on YouTube, and everyone on YouTube World. Thank you. Don't forget, everyone, we're trying to get to our 1,000 subscribers. So let's, everyone, please pitch in. Help out, share, subscribe. We're trying to get to that 1,000. So help us with that. You know. We're at Bitten Peaches on YouTube, so you can find us there and spread the word, please. It's awesome. Thank you, guys. On Instagram at Bitten Peaches, I'm gonna put some stuff up because we have the new book out. So I'll put some posts regarding that and some other things. But we're on Instagram at Bitten Peaches. You can find us there with their excerpts and stuff like that. So go there, join, follow us there. It's a place where we'll have a lot of book-related things on Instagram. Zazzle, wow. So I don't even know what to say. One moment we had a lot of swag. The next moment we had an enormous amount of swag. If you haven't been to Zazzle recently, you've got to go there and check out the swag. We've hired a new designer. We have two designers. We have the lead designer, which is Dolly. And now we have a senior designer, which is Z, who is our opener and closer. And she is like, she's working overtime. She wants to design this. She wants to design that. She wants to design blankets. She wants to design shirts and mugs. If you check out the Zazzle store and you look at that Ezra design with the sandwich and all that, that was Z who was doing that. So she has created. I've kind of just, hey, I don't do anything with the Zazzle store. That's like Dolly's the lead designer. Zoya's the senior designer, and they went crazy making amazing stuff, amazing swag. Here's the link for the Zazzle store. So go there. It has so use that link, please, because it helps us with our analytics. So go there, please. And yeah, Zazzle's it's been insane. So there's swag, so much swag. Just the magnets alone, I was blown away by the magnets that are on that place now. And the sandwich, I'll tell her, Jasmine, I'll definitely tell her, the Zazzle store, the sandwich blew me away. I was checking stuff out and I saw that Ezra's. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go to the Zazzle store. And then the Ezra sandwich, I was like, wow, it looks so good. I want to have like some I want a pastrami sandwich right now. So the Zazzle store is wow. All I can say is wow. I sit there and I'm looking and I'm checking stuff out. It's amazing. It really is amazing. So go there. And here's the link. Use that link. Go there. Really. It's amazing. We don't have any new Patreons, but we want to shout out to Jeanette for increasing her pledge. Thank you, Jeanette. That was awesome. Really appreciate not just you, but everyone who's a patron. You guys are amazing for going above and beyond. That's a lot, Jeanette. I'm glad you were able to give yourself a Christmas present to yourself. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you. I mean, I know you like the Zazzle store because you've told me all the stuff you've gotten. So yeah. So if you don't know, we have a Patreon page. I doubt that anyone who's here doesn't know that we have a Patreon. But if you don't know, we have a Patreon. It's called The Magic Squad. And there are different tiers, and the different tiers get different goodies and stuff from the books. They get chapters. So depending on what tier you are, the higher the tier, the more stuff you get. That's usually the way Patreon works. So that's our Patreon link. Go there and join our Patreon. It's going a little extra to support the writing, to support Ben Peaches, to support all the stuff that we're doing. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And you get mentioned in all the books because all the patrons get mentioned in the books. So it's amazing. The book cover t-shirts, yeah, those t-shirts are pretty amazing. So I don't have anything to do with the designs on Zazzle any longer. That was a long time ago. Now I'm just a consumer at Zazzle because I just recently got a mug there that's so awesome. I was hoping to get it today because I'm getting a little, I'm tired of the Iron Man. I kind of want to, swag out my own stuff. So I ordered a mug that looks amazing, and it's the cover of the next Mountain Strong book, which is Immortal. When I get that mug, you guys all you're gonna see is that mug, no Iron Man. Sorry. So, if you're on Patreon, you help support us, which is an amazing thing. So thank you, and I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. What else we got? Binge Books. All right, so we're on BookBub and Binge Books. So Binge Books, there's our Binge Books link. Go there, follow us, leave a review, and if you haven't yet, that's where you go. Just click on that link. Go there. You can find my name, find the books, leave your views of the books that you've read, and follow us there. And just join Binge Books. It's free. Same thing with BookBub. Here's BookBub. Sorry, BookBub. Follows there. We have a bunch there. We're like a few hundred people following us on BookBub. So just let's increase that as well. And you can find us there. Yeah. Let's see what else. Oh, the e-newsletter. There should be a newsletter coming out soon because we had a new book recently. So a newsletter will be out to kind of push and promote that and let everyone that's on the newsletter kind of know what's going on in the Mountain Strong world and in the Ben Peaches and the publishing world in what we're doing. So a new newsletter will be coming out soon for that. Okay, let me remove this. And let's see, Jenna has a question. In terms of Immortal, is it about time we inducted a new member to the red shirts? Yeah, it's about time. You were the last red shirt, I believe, Jeanette. So we need a new one, and I think it's gonna be a little late for Corpse Road because Corpse Road is. I want to say It's too late to put a red shirt into Corpse Road because the story's kind of already congealed in a sense. It's kind of it's like full speed ahead. So putting in a red shirt at this point would be, it wouldn't be hard, it wouldn't be difficult, but it would be kind of almost shoehorning in the red shirt. And it's good to know that there's going to be a red shirt from the beginning of the story. So Immortal would be the place to do it, you know? So since you were the last red shirt, you got to, I think you were, weren't you? Were you the last red shirt? I think you were, Jeanette. Oh, Heather was the last red shirt in Divine Intimate. So whoever the last red shirt is, I think it's been such a while, we'll have to reset, and I'll create a question for the next red shirt. So, or maybe we'll let the mob come up with a question for the next red shirt. That might be fun. Kind of have it as a group thing and let everyone come up with a question for the red shirt to answer. It has to be a hard question and one that's hard to answer. And then that person, whoever answers that question correctly, gets to die in the next book, which is always awesome. The red shirt competitions are always great to have. And I think Immortal would be a good place for it. So what I'll do is I had to do a few things today. I'll post a new snippet for Corpse Road. I don't know, have I put a snippet for Corpse Road yet? Oh no, I gotta put a snippet in the mob. So okay, I'll put a snippet for Corpse Road in the mob. And I'll open the red shirt competition for Immortal. Immortal's is coming out in March. Corpse Road's coming out at the end of this month. Immortal comes out in March. And in between Corpse Road and Immortal, we'll have Endgame Tango, which is the third Treadwell book. Yeah, but that's for Patreon. They get the chapters. It's different. They get chapters in Patreon. For the mob, I don't usually put out the whole chapter. You might get the entire chapter over 5 snippets, which is different in the mob. But the patrons get chapters. Every time it's a release, it's a chapter. Yeah. So no, you do not volunteer as tribute. No, you do not volunteer as tribute. No, let's not do that. Okay, so let's see. Let me go over some of the book and audio updates. All right. First off, before I forget, huge shout out to all our indie authors. All right, because the list, wow, it just gets longer and longer. So I don't know if we have any links, Chrisman, but I'm gonna give a blanket huge shout out to every indie author that is in the mob, that we support in the mob. If you have an author, let me just give you the PSA, I guess. If you have an author you like, or an author you've read, right? Let me just hit the links, right? Here we go. Boom. So that's John Corwin. I think John is here today. So Amos Carver, book 4 is out. It's Dead Man Walking. So here's the link. Grab it. If you have an author you like and you're in the mob and you want to share this author with everyone else, just you start the link. You start the I guess the post with the L3 format. Everyone here, I believe, knows the L3 format, where you say L3 because it's Larry's literary list that we're trying to destroy his Kindle. But it also helps people find books in the mob. So L3, the name of the book, the name of the author, and then just post it in the mob because we're all readers first. So if you find an author you enjoy and you think the mob would like it, let's just share it, okay? So, and as always, we support our indie authors. And if you're an author, so that's for the mob, right? If you're an author and you want to let everyone know that you have a book coming out, please DM Chris Chrisman, let him know. He's right here, right? Let Chris know, hey, I have a book coming out, or, it would be great if you guys could share my book. And we'll do what we're doing right now, which is, you see how John has his link out? We'll do that with your book as well. So if your book is out or your book is new, it's going to come out before the 26th of January, which is our next Mob TV. Let Chris know. And then we'll do a little kind of promo for you and stuff like that. We do love to promote indie authors. We can't get to all of them because way in the beginning of the Mob Kaffeeklatsch, yes, we were able to promote, our indie authors, but now there's just so many that we know. it's really hard to promote all of them. So inevitably we forget one or two or three. So we just start saying, okay, we promote all our indie authors. We like to support our indie authors, and we have many indie authors in the MoB itself. So, but we do like to promote indie authors. That's what we do. So if you're an author, reach out to Chris. And if you're in the MoB and you're a reader and you find a book, an author that you really enjoy and you think we would, please don't hesitate to put it in the MoB. Okay. All right. So I'm going to remove this link and we'll move on. I hope the books do well, John. Let's see. I'll just go down the list real quick. John Corwin, John Logsdon, Ben Zackheim, Nicole Grotepas, the whole duo crew, Nazri Noor, Brad Magnarella, Jonathan Yanez, I know I'm forgetting, MD Massey, so many. Geez, there are so many. Kimber Swain. See this. Listen, if I were to go down the whole list, we spend the whole show just me naming authors because there's just so many of them. R.R. Verdi, this A.D. Starling. Thank you, Chris. Whew, wow. M.M. Crumley. Geez. I'm going to have to start like having the list taped somewhere in the vicinity where I could see it. And then I think that's what we need to do, Chris. It's just a list all the MoB authors, and then I'll just read the list real quick in the beginning of each show. And we'll just keep adding to that list. R.L. King, can't forget R. King and Alistair. Yeah. There's so many. So you find it in the author, you enjoy the story, and you think the MoB would like it, that it would fit in the MoB, or just you want to share, let us know. Okay. So we have book and audio updates. We have, I think I just got the email today from Deranged about the back cover. So you can order paperbacks for Shadow Queen. Shadow Queen is out. And so you can order signed paperbacks. So that's something that's new that we do. You can order your signed paperbacks. I'll give this up to Dolly today, and we'll see if we can get the paperbacks up and running. This is that DDD went on vacation. The Range has great vacations throughout the year. They only do like 2, maybe 3, but 2. But they do 2 big ones. Like it's almost a month they take off, which is fantastic. So I'm going to try and start copying their vacation time and just take off a month. They do like one in January and one in the middle of the summer somewhere. And they just let everyone know a few weeks in advance, think about a month in advance, and they say, we're on vacation. If you need something, let us know because we are on vacation. And when they say they're on vacation, they really mean they're on. Like, you can't get to them. You can't contact them. It's real vacation. So they're just coming back. I think they're coming back Monday from vacation. And then the print book for Shadow Queen, the print version, needed the back cover had to be redone, kind of tweaked. And so they're working on that. And I think I got an email either letting me know that they're working on it or that I have the revised back cover. All right. So don't forget to leave your reviews for Shadow Queen. I always let you guys know, listen, leave your reviews. It's important because every author, every book, every author needs the social proof. I don't ask as much anymore because the books just take off. But I just like to remind everyone, all the readers, I sometimes have to remind myself when I'm reading a book, I got to leave a review. It's a little harder for me because Amazon doesn't like authors leaving reviews for other authors because they start thinking that it's like trying to do a favor for a favor kind of thing. I leave a review, they leave me a review, so they frown upon it. So I have to be careful how I leave reviews. But don't forget to leave a review because it does help the book. It's a form of social proof. People see a book with a lot of reviews. They go, oh, a lot of people must have, really liked this story, so I'm going to check it out. So it helps out the author and it helps out the book. So don't forget to leave your reviews, okay? Okay, so let's discuss. Trying to see what I can discuss. Let's discuss what's happening, and then we'll get back to Shadow Queen because I want to discuss Shadow Queen a little bit. So I'm in the middle of Corpse Road. I don't think I'm in the middle. I'm about, I want to say about 40% into Corpse Road. Corpse is going to come out It goes to the art on the 22nd of January. So that's in about a week or so. It goes to the art, Corpse Road. So if you want to be part of that art, let me know. If you've never been part of an art before, send me a PM and I'll put you into the art. But if you want to be part of Corpse Road's art, then it'll be out on the 22nd of Monday. I always just say like one day, and it's usually the day before because I try to get it done the day before. You'll have a week with that one, so because it's gonna come out. So let's say it goes out the 22nd to the art. You guys get it for a week. It probably goes live the 27th, the 28th, around there. So that's when it goes out. So you want to be part of that art? That's the one you gotta let me know. The Patreon story is called The Burden, and it should be coming out this week coming, the week of the 15th. Today's the 12th, so the week of the 15th. If you see me go like this, I'm looking at my big wall calendar. So the week of the 15th, that week in there, it's going to be in there somewhere, the new Patreon story. It's a little delayed, but that's because I was in the middle of Shadow Queen, and I jumped right into Corpse Road. So... But yeah, this week coming, and it's a Master Yacht story, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Endgame Tango. Okay, Endgame Tango originally was scheduled for like July. I'm looking at the production schedule, but it's too far away because we just finished Shadow Queen, and I want to kind of give you guys Endgame Tango and kind of wrap up the Treadwell trilogy. So that's gonna come out after Corpse Road, but before Immortal. It's in there, sandwiched in there. So Endgame Tango is going to be, and I already kind of have it started because I picked up right after Shadow Queen. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff happening in Endgame Tango. Whoa. Okay. Speaking of Immortal, Mountain Strong 23. Can't believe we're up to 23 books. Wow. That's going to be the end of March. So these books are coming like fast and furious. So the end of March, we have Immortal. And that one is that's a Kali-centered book, and the whole Mark of Kali and Simon and Dira, and that one is gonna be that one's gonna be crazy. So you have a lot of fun with that one. So that's coming out end of March. End of June is Resolutions, which is another Mountain Strong 24. Resolutions is interesting, so it'll be fun. I can't tell you too much about that one because come on. And I think that's it for the book and audio updates. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube, but I already said that. And I think that's it for that. All right, Shadow Queen. Hopefully by now everyone's read Shadow Queen. So something's on fire out there. Hey, turn that off. Okay, Shadow Queen. What are your thoughts on Shadow Queen? Let's see. Jeanette says, okay, let me catch up because you guys have been talking. All authors in the same genre. I want to say most of the authors are urban fantasy, but we have science fiction in there too. And I don't think we have romance or romantasy. We don't have any romantasy, but most of them are urban fantasy, but there's some other lists. John Corwin is Cthulhu based, like urban fantasy. So I would say Lovecraftian horror, John, with urban fantasy. So that's kind of a mix in there too. So we got a little bit of a mix. It's broad. It's not just urban fantasy, but it's an interesting group. And yeah, but most of the authors I know are in the urban fantasy space, but I do know some sci-fi and some harder sci-fi, but most of them are urban fantasy. So yes, I would say they're not all in the same exact genre, but they're all close. Good morning, Marriott. Welcome. Thank you so much for supporting your authors, Jeanette. It's awesome. I try to do the same thing. It's not always easy for me. But yes, they're mostly all. I would say they all fall under the umbrella of fantasy, Jim, for sure. Yeah, Chris, DD. When they go on vacation, everything gets stopped. So that's the way it is, Audrey says it took the Zon 10 days to approve my review. Wow, that's a long time. Usually they're much faster than that, so I'm surprised. Yes, please sharpen your claws, people, because it's going to be a lot to shred. So be ready. No, I don't think Simon is making any thing. No, he's not making any meat that I know of. I hope not. Okay, so let's discuss Shadow Queen. Your thoughts? I had mixed feelings about Shadow Queen as I was writing it, and when I released it, I was like, it's kind of like it's in a weird space. Shadow Queen is not. It's definitely not Monty and Strong. I'm realizing that it's not. It's like Monty and Strong adjacent, but it's so different. The characters are so different from M&S. It's amazing. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Steven. And Mary Beth, I'm glad you loved it. See, Jeanette says the art would be a good distraction prior to having someone scrape out your sinus. Yeesh, doesn't sound like fun at all. Okay, who's coming in? Who's that last person to say hello? Hello, Nipa. Welcome, Nipa. Welcome. So your thoughts on Shadow Queen? Tell me. I wanted out. If my preferred genre, read Killers of the Flower Moon. How was it? Isn't that the one that they just made the movie with DiCaprio? Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, Heather, I was just keeping someone out of trouble for sure. Yeah, you never know. So, if you notice in the Treadwell Supernatural Directive, there's a lot more involvement from dragons as opposed to in Monty Strong. There have been dragons, but they've always been kind of antagonistic. And in the Treadwell, they are more involved as part of the environment in terms of what that underworld is. So the dragons are very much an important part of that. They're important in the Monty and Strong world, but they're not as apparent. You know, Monty and Simon don't run into dragons as often as, let's say, Sebastian and Tiger do, or the Treadwell Directive does. You know, and up until the point where they're marked by a dragon, which is a whole different thing. You know. I think, Diane, I think you're right. I think it's easier to start with 2 books in the Treadwell Directive. You kind of get, like I was saying, M&S adjacent, right? So you get to see a little, you get to hear about Monty and Strong. You don't really get to see them too much. And then you get to see the Treadwell Directive world. And then if you want to kind of jump into Monty and Strong, you can. But Monty and Strong, you look at it, it's like it's 22 books. And that's a lot. That can be daunting, you know. It can be like, whoa, I can't get into 22 books right now. But then if you only have 2 in the Treadwell story, then you'll have 3 with Endgame. It's a good entry point. You can read those 3, and then get into the rest of them. But Monty Strong can be a lot to look at once. Let's see. Excuse me. Yeah, Chris, dragons are the hidden guardians of the earth. I agree. They've had bad experiences with dragons. All of Monty and Simon's experiences with dragons, going all the way back to, I think, Full Moon How, have been bad experiences with dragons. Yeah, for sure. Really like the underestimating of Tiger and Teach. Yes, that was fun to do. And you know, I write strong characters anyway. So the fact that Tiger was underestimated, that's kind of like par for the course for my writing. I like having characters that are underestimated that are really strong. You know, Dan, hello Dan, Mr. Awesome. Let's see, is there any connection with the fact that he went by the name Death's Dragon and now he's Mark? There's some connection there, but I can't. That would be kind of spoiling for Endgame, so it gets revealed a little later on in Endgame for sure. Let's see. All right, so yes, Jeanette, I need waiting to find out what all that blood Simon got infected, but that doesn't come out till. Okay, I'm looking at the list. The list for Monty Strong right now is currently sitting at 34, only because I ran out of room. But that doesn't. You don't get to see that until I want to say like book 31, book 30, something around there. So yeah, and we're only on book 22, so it's a little bit. Right, the Craig Zimick is a good example of that, of a negative experience. Yeah. Welcome, Michelle. You're not late. You're on time. You're here. So, who says many badass female characters in various stories? Who? Oh, Jim. Yeah, Jim. There are a lot. Some of the notable are like Bug and just Tiger. There's a whole almost all the females and all the stories are badass females. I don't write. A long time ago, I was talking to the mob, like this. We're talking in the early episodes, and I was explaining to the mob that I don't write weak characters. And I especially don't write weak females. So the female characters are just as badass as the male characters. There's no, it does. I don't write weak. Put it to this: I don't write damsels in distress. I never have. I never will. So yeah, because I was raised by a Valkyrie, and so that's my experience. And so I can't write weak females. There's a huge ick factor. They're like, no, can't do that. And that's so my writing. The characters in the stories, the women are strong characters. I try to write believable badass females because I was raised by a badass female. So, I want, Dolly's a badass female. My daughter's a badass females, and so I want that for them, and I want them. So when I write, when they read the stories later on in life, they can see, oh wow, Dad wrote badass females, So it's really important. And my sister's a badass female. My sister's a badass female. So I'm surrounded by strong women, and so the women in the stories, they're still feminine. There's nothing wrong with being feminine, but they also are, they're badass, and that's the way it should be. Right? You can get it in a pickle and not be a damsel in distress. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever had any female rescued solely because she just couldn't handle the situation and was in too deep by herself. The times that women were rescued is because they were facing overwhelming odds and needed the help. That has also happened with the men too. So it's not just a female thing. Yes, Jenna, you do earn your title as the R for sure, for sure. Yeah. So, I did some with their own stories. Let's see. I did. Bug has her own story. I don't know if Tiger's gonna have her own story because she's such an integral part of the directive of the Stray Dogs. And having her own story, she's very much a group person. Like she really works with the directive. That's her thing. That's her family. So she's not really going to operate without the directive because she's involved with the directive and making sure the directive is okay. So I don't see her having her own story. Like let's say Bug would have her own story. And even Bug's story, even though it was like she was the main character, it was still her getting Porter, finding Porter and rescuing him, saving his situation. So yeah, I grew up with Emma Peel. You know what I mean? So whose first crush was Miss Peel? Who? Yeah, I grew up with the Avengers and Emma Peel. So yeah, and that was an era where women weren't supposed to be like protagonists. Women were supposed to be Bond girls. So it's different. See, rescuing Simon by the Bruin Show. Yeah, Simon was rescued not by just a woman. He was rescued by a little girl, two canines, and Frank. So, and a lizard. Well, lizard dragon, right? And so the stories are not conventional, put it that way. They shouldn't be, and they shouldn't be. And Margaret, I hear Armand was big. That's a little bit before. I think that's a little before my time. And Margaret, yeah. Yeah, so my female characters aren't hanging back in any rescues. They're always ready to put. Yes, they're front and center. They're like in they right, like Tiger is right next to Sebastian when things are happening, and then I had some fun in Shadow Queen because I don't know if this is a spoiler. What happens to Tiger on the 9th floor and how she deals with that situation? I thought that was fun. Steven says we need another Peanut story, and you are right, Steven. In March, there will be another Peanut story for the Patreon. There's a Peanut story. It's called Peanut and Kai. So I'm looking at the production schedule. It's on there. So the patrons get another Peanut story because Peanut, if to think about her origin, she started in the Patreon stories. So that's really kind of where she lives. Now she makes appearances every so often, and actually she appears in Corpse Road for a little while. They make cameos. So now she appears with Cece. So, but an actual story will be in Patreon for March. An actual Peanut story. It's Peanut and Kai. Yeah, Emma Peel in the Avengers was completely amazing. She broke a lot of molds. You know who else was like that, but didn't have that kind of appeal? But Judi Dench in Bond when she was M, she stole that role as M. She was amazing. Let's see who else. There was a lot of female characters who were like amazing. Oh yeah, I harass Donnie with this all the time. If you ever watch Yellowstone and Beth Dutton, she's a psychopath, which is kind of like, you know, part of the character, but she's a badass woman. And also, if you ever watch Luther, I'm a big fan of Luther with Idris Elba because Idris is the man. But if you ever watch Luther and you see Alice Morgan, Alice is the perfect foil. Alice's insanity and sociopathy is the perfect foil for Luther's way of being. And they complement each other in a scary way. But that's a great female character to offset Idris's character. So there's some amazing female characters out there for sure. It's just like, let's see. If you go back to the mythos of the comic books, and in Batman, it wasn't Catwoman that was the foil for Batman. It was Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Talia, who was the foil who was a match for Batman. And she was amazing as a character too. But now you have to really know the comics. You're going way, way back, you know? Okay. Oh yeah, Xena was really good. Xena was out there for a long time. I remember when Xena was the craze. It was like such a big thing. All right, let's see. Dan says he missed the last clutch in case this came up, but wanted to say the 10 calling card that Bug was hand. Oh yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? That was a pretty cool one. In terminal velocity, yeah, loved it. If you ever need to activate, it will be here. I thought that was a nice touch, Dan. The little, you know, when LD and it's like, hey, you ever need some help? We're here. Give us a call. Yeah. Jeanette says, like I've said before, we need our own Sid Rat. Yeah, I really need to have a Sid Rat. Speaking of Sid Rat, I was looking at the covers for the designers. Dolly's listening. Don't listen. So I have the covers for the designers, which is Butterfly Paradox. The first one is Butterfly Paradox. The second is, I believe the second is Tempest. And the last one is Devourer. So it's 3 stories, right? It's because I usually do things in trilogies. And that's the story with Nina as a designer, that's the time travel story. I've kind of been a little hesitant to get started with that story because it's time travel. And time travel is always so, you know, wibbly wobbly, kind of, you know, it gets crazy and convoluted. And that character, Sid Rat's in that story, and that interlaces into all the story. So it's like, yeesh. But I was looking at the characters. The characters are amazing. I don't think you've seen those characters, have you? The covers? Have you seen all 3? Oh, I got to give you the other 3. I just found them yesterday. I was doing stuff. I was like, what the heck? Because it's my filing system was a little off in the beginning, but now I found them. I know it, and I put them in the right place. So time travel is going to be fun, but that one is like the sci-fi. It's urban fantasy, but time travel takes a lot of research. It's got to be done right. And yes, like Chris is saying, it can be fun and head twisting. And so I want to kind of have some Mountain Strong done. Maybe after Immortal, I'll try and start with one of those stories. But I have so many actual trilogies to finish first. I don't want to start another one. I want to finish the ones that are like halfway through. Like, let's see, Division 13 needs to get done. I've got the birth of the assassin, the Assassin's Apprentice. Let's see, the Bruin Shoe has to get finished. There's a few trilogies that need to get done first. When is the book with the cover I'm sworn to secrecy about due? Oh, that one. You know, that one's not for a while. You're gonna have to hold that one for a while, Dan. Just hold it. Hold it. I do know the one, and you can't say anything. Yes. Hetty and I liked Hetty and NCIS. I used to watch NCIS a long time ago, and we kind of outgrew that. I used to watch that with Dolly. Remember NCIS? We used to watch it all the time, and then we kind of outgrew it. Alice, Linda, yes, Alice was a psycho. There's that one scene If you've watched Luther, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When she catches up, Luther catches up with the police officer who murdered his wife. And he's gonna arrest him, and then Alice comes in, and let's just say, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't watched it because you should, but Alice makes sure that that officer does not get arrested. It's crazy. So Alice is a great character. Yeah, and you're gonna see. Well, Endgame Tango is really about Alice and Sebastian, and sorry, I'm thinking Anna, Regina, who's based on Alice. So it's about Regina and Sebastian and stuff that happens. I can't really say too much, but also the Sacred Amethyst and Maledicta's in there, and there's a lot of stuff that happens. So yeah. Let's see. Like the last Jelly Baby. Yeah. Sydney is getting a bit shark jumping to her, so the franchise is. I haven't seen any new NCIS, so I know NCIS had a bunch of spin-offs. Like it was NCIS Los Angeles for a while, then NCIS something else, and NCIS something else. So I haven't seen any of the recent NCIS. It's like Supernatural. What season are we on? Supernatural. I have no. I think we're on season 6 out of 15. So yeah. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna go back to Supernatural. I mean, we kind of outgrew Supernatural. It was like at some point we already knew what was gonna happen in the first 5 minutes of the story, like the episode. Okay, victim, he's gonna that. Okay, cue the crying in 3, 2. So after a while, we're like, okay, yeah, we're past this. It was like Grimm. Remember Grimm? Mm-hmm. Grimm was the same thing. We were watching Grimm with diehard Grimm watchers, and then we kind of outgrew Grimm. So yeah. So that's the situation. So I'm deep in the midst of Corpse Road right now. I can't tell you where the guys are, what they're doing, who they're doing it with, and what's happening. Let's just say I'm gonna just give you one line. Monty is seeing dead people. So yeah. So and that's all I can say. It's very Sixth Sense. He sees dead people. And then there's a reason for it that's really complicated, but it's also really simple too. And it'll come out. So you'll find out in the story. But that's about as much as I can tell you about what's happening in terms of Corpse Road and why it's called Corpse Road. Recently, the guys haven't been using the Dark Goat as much because they've been teleported to places. Chris, I mean, I love introducing new cars. Or when I say new cars, I mean new old cars, right? Like the tank that Sebastian has is an amazing vehicle. If you look at a murdered out 1966 Lincoln Continental, that is a work of art. Can't really introduce another car that's not the GOAT. So I have to see. It would have to be another story. But maybe I can't destroy the GOAT. The Dark Goat is pretty much indestructible at this point. Let's see. And the Beast is another one that's indestructible. But I guess I can introduce other cars and kind of crush them. So we'll see. I don't like destroying the cars too much because I love the old muscle cars, you know. Yeah, the Lincoln was a Green Hornets car. That car, I grew up watching that car, so I'm really. It kind of fit. That's the thing about introducing a new car. It has to fit the character, and the Lincoln Continental, especially the '66, which was a boat. My dad had a Cadillac around that age, and when I was a little kid. There were no seat belts. You just got into the back, and you got lost in the back seat because it was just so big, right? But the car has to fit the characters, like. The GOAT fits Monty and Strong, and the tank fits Sebastian and the directive. So, and it's different because, Sebastian is not impervious to danger and damage. Sebastian gets beat up and messed up. And so the tank is a really good fit for him, Yeah. That's true, Jeanette. All the fools trying to destroy New York are basically Walking Dead people. Yeah. Yeah, Callie. So, Rico, to speak to your comment that Callie's involved in the next book. The next book is Corpse Road. I don't know if I can give the ending, but Corpse Road, the end of Corpse Road ties directly into Immortal, which is the next book, but it's not like cliffhanger type thing. There's going to be something that happens in Corpse Road, at the end of Corpse Road, that immediately kicks off Immortal, and it's involved with Dira and the Blood Hunters, and that's about as much as I can say. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and then the whole concept of what it means to be immortal starts coming to the forefront in the next book with Simon. And what does it mean to be an immortal? And what's the responsibility of being immortal? A 1960 Invicta. I don't know if it sounds fun. 1960 is definitely my year. So I'm looking up an Invicta right now, even as we speak. A 1960 Invicta. It looks interesting. It's the Invicta Buick. Yeah, it's not menacing enough. It's pretty. It really is a pretty car. The 1960 Invicta. It's like automotive art, because cars in that era, they were classics. They were made with a lot of care. But it's not menacing enough. The cars that I put in the stories, they have a sense of menace to them. Like if you look at the Goat, it has menace to it. You look at the Continental, there's menace. If you look at the Beast, which is a 60-something Camaro, I want to say 62 or 69 Camaro, it has menace. So the cars have to have some kind of menace. If you look at in the Patreon story where we had the Chevelle and we had the Nova, those cars have menace to them. So the car in itself is a character. The Invicta, it's pretty. I mean, it's really pretty, but I wouldn't put it in a story because it's too pretty. You know what? And that sounds weird, but it's too pretty. It doesn't have the right personality for the stories. It needs to scare people. An Invicta wouldn't scare me. A Challenger or a Barracuda, those would scare me. those are the cars that would be scary. So it's like that. See, Dan says the fact that Bug didn't get a Cecil tricked out VW Bug is still Bug. No, we can't have Bug have a bug. It's just too on the nose. It's too on the nose, Dan. But the endless gags, Porter, yes, I know, but no. Maybe in another story we'll get her. Cecil bring a Bug, but she got the perfect car for her. She's got a beautiful car. So yeah, no. Yeah, so Jeanette's going to be a deep conversation about what it means to be immortal and why Simon has been cursed alive. We're going to go deeper into the whole situation. So that's going to be fun. And book, geez, I want to even, where's Mortal? I don't even see it. Oh my God, is that far ahead? There's another story. I guess it's in the late 30s. In the late 30s called Mortal, where Simon becomes mortal for a story. Kali removes the curse of immortality. So, but that's like, I don't even see it on the list. It's after book 34. So there you go. Yeah. Hold on. Let me see. No Pintos or Gremlins. No, unless I'm crushing them, because Pintos and Gremlins only deserve to be crushed. Okay. A Prius, same thing. It deserves to be crushed. Chris is asking you, Dolly, when are you going to start writing stories? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but see, we got the Pumpkin VW has personality. It's not scary, but it's bangers and mash. They gotta have a Pumpkin VW. So you don't have a Bug, but you got the Pumpkin, which is an awesome vehicle. Let's see. Chris says Immortal is as hard to write as Time Travel. Yeah, I would have to say it in a different way, but it's just as hard to write as Time Travel, Immortality, not dying, and the repercussions of that. Yeah. Who wrote a dark 47 Pontiac Chieftain? What is that? That looks awesome. 1947 sounds. Who? Oh, Tommy. Let's see. Pontiac had made some amazing vehicles. Let's see if this is menacing enough. Yeah, see, okay, 1947. See, this car, first of all, it's beautiful. It's an amazing car. But it reminds me of Ursula's Widow, which is very much in line with this feel of a vehicle. Yes, but this is menacing. And if you make it like a Sunatran vehicle, it could definitely be in a story. But I already have the Widow, which Ursula drives, is very similar to this. So that's why, and you can't have too many cars that look the same because then they just kind of blur. They start looking like each other, you know. Oh, Steven wants to know if there's any chance of a more in-depth story with Roxanne. Yes. Let's see. Boom. I'm trying to look at. I'm looking at the list, Steve. Hold on. We're on Corpse Road and Water Resolution Outcast. I think around Outcast, which is book 25, or Mages and Monsters, which is book 27. Deadeye is a Simon story. Nemesis is a Simon story. Chaos Rising is a usual Monty and Strong. Paper Dragons, that's a lot more Michigo. Phantom Pain, yeah. So probably either book 25 or book 27, Roxanne gets kind of like, you know, featured, you know. But see, the thing is, if I'm gonna start going into classic British cars, it's a whole different thing, right? So there's a reason why all the cars are American muscle, and I don't think I've ever touched upon it. I mean, Cecil has spoken about it, but there's a reason why, even though they're British, that he works with American muscle. I'll have to bring it into a story, because Cecil's story is really interesting too, that I haven't really got into it too much. No permanently killing Simon. No, Simon can't. Simon has plot armor, so no. That's like trying to mess with Peaches. Can't happen. Although I did enjoy the cover that the range made for. It's Stuart Jaff, I think, is the author, and it's Nathan K. The story, Nathan K. and Prime. It's basically the same model as Simon, but they put like effects in his eyes, and he's a mage and stuff like that. So it's interesting. So, but no, Simon can't get killed. Simon has plot armor. If Monty had his own car, it would have to be a Jag of some kind, something stylish but fast. Definitely, yeah. If Monty had his own car, we were looking at it a while back in the mob, and we all kind of settled on a Jag because it's so classically British, but it's also so stylish. The older Jags are amazing vehicle. Or, I mean, I don't want to go too Bondish, but an Aston Martin is a beautiful vehicle. The older ones are amazing to look at. So maybe something along those lines. Someone actually said a Triumph, and I was like, I don't know about that. No. Okay. Did someone say Blur Part 2? Blur Part 2. Blur is in Part 2 right now. Blur. So to kind of get into what's happening with Blur, I'm rewriting Blur, not rewriting it completely. I'm tweaking it. I'm changing it from third person to first person. And John Kane is kind of getting a makeover. The cover's getting redone. The story's getting redone. And I'm going to finish the pentology, because that's what it is, a pentology. So that's where Blur is right now. I think I'm on chapter 13 out of 30 right now for Blur. It's a little easier because the book's already written. I'm just kind of giving it a makeover. So that's where Blur is. So it'll be released in a month or so. But there's no date for that because it's just going to happen. Let's see. I'm all about the Dex. Crazy and dark. Dex is special. Dex is such a great character. Dex figures heavily in the beginning of Corpse Road and maybe the end of Corpse Road, but he's in Corpse Road a lot right now. And his friend, but I can't say who his friend is because I'm giving away the story. But yes, an S-type for Monty. Yeah, I can see an S-type for Monty for sure, because that's a car that kind of says Monty, that car. Yes. Yes, guys, look, if your name doesn't show up, I don't know who you are, and you're just coming up as Facebook user, so please, if you can, just go to StreamYard and let them and give them permissions. Now we got to get to the questions soon. So let's see. Jeanette says, I'm in the Aston Martin camp mostly because of Top Gear setting. Yeah, I like Aston Martins. Not so much for the recent Bond, even though Bond always had some sort of Aston Martin. But I like the older Aston Martins, and those are beautiful cars. So yeah, I can see Monty driving an Aston Martin that Cecil gave a special treatment to, the Montague package. That would be an amazing vehicle. Yeah, Jag is smart. Me come look at my Jag. Yeah. The Jag is a beautiful car. The only problem with the Jag is that it spends a lot of time in the shop because it's a delicate car too. I had a few friends who own Jags. Those cars spend more time being repaired than on the road. Okay, Chris is asking, how hard is it to rewrite your own book? Actually, not that hard if you know where the story's going. So to change it from third person point of view to first person point of view, not that hard actually. At least I haven't found it to be hard. A little bit of tweaking and things that happen that the character doesn't know. You kind of have to fold it into the story a little differently, but it's not that hard. It's not because you're not rewriting the story. You're just kind of adjusting the perspective, so it's not that hard. But from third to first is easy. I found it easy because the story was set up in a way that it's an easy transition to first. So yeah. Ben is asking me, are there any of your already published books that you wish you could rewrite? No, none. All the books that I've written and they're written in the past and they're done, I leave them alone usually. Like Spiritual Warriors, that whole thing, the whole series, I don't even look at it. I try not to look at it because it makes me, I cringe when I see it. The early Monty and Strongs, I leave those alone because I could rewrite them, but it would change the series if I tried to rewrite them because I changed as an author. And so even now I've seen that when I write up, when I'm doing Blur, I can't change too much of the story. And there are parts where I say, oh no, it sounds better. And I go, no, I gotta leave it the way it was. So part of me wants to change it, but part of me realizes no, it was part of the progress to get to where I'm at today as an author. So no. And yes, Silk is still the man, but he's not in Blur. So yeah, you change, you evolve as a person, as an author, you grow. You don't want to erase the past. You want to honor that the process, the journey it took you to get to where you are now. And so I try not to rewrite the older stories. I could, but no, I don't want to. But that's a great question, Ben. Yeah. Please don't down Spiritual Warriors. No, I don't down it at all. I think it was a great. I think, and it is a great story, you know. But how do I explain it? Spiritual Warriors has a special place in my heart, and it always will, because it was the first pentology. Like I started writing a pentology, which I don't recommend for any author. Rico, if you're gonna start with a trilogy, or start with a duology, or start with just one book. Don't start with 5 books. And if you ask anyone, the guys, Dolly, that series has the highest cast count of any series that I've written. It just has so many people, so many characters, so many things. I put everything in the kitchen sink in the Spiritual Wars. I don't know how I kept it straight. So even if I wanted to rewrite it, I don't think I could, because there's just so much happening, and it's like it's so close to who I am as a martial artist, as a person, because that was all I knew to include in the story back then. So you'll see that the Spiritual Warriors is martial arts heavy. Even Blur has a lot of martial arts, but it's different. But Spiritual Warrior was like living in a dojo, and there's fights. Every other page has a fight scene. It's like it's all fighting, and it's really involved fighting, and because that's what I was living. That's what I brought to the story. So I don't think I can ever change Spiritual Warrior because of the way that it was written, who I was when I wrote it. And the story is a lot of fun. I mean, I've read it. It's still a lot of fun. It's just I cringe in the sense of I've grown so much since Spiritual Warrior that I couldn't write it the same way today. I wouldn't, because I'm a different author at this point, Damn Skippy, yes. Yeah, Spiritual Warriors is day one OG goodness, yeah. Yeah, Karashihan, listen, Silk is when we say Silk is the man, that's a real thing. Silk is the man. Silk was my first antagonist / protagonist, anti-hero, awesome guy. And he's still in a space of his own. Spiritual Warrior is a fun, that's one of the first times I started writing where you start at a breakneck pace and it just keeps going and it doesn't stop. It just keeps going for all the books. It's just, you're like, does Dante get a break? It's like that. All right, let's get to the questions because I have some. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, questions. Here we go. First of all, thank you for all the questions. It's 12:30, so we got a little bit of time. Thank you for all the questions. You guys are amazing. I always say the questions help the show become it adds a dimension to the show that makes it even more fun, more interesting. We get to see a little bit behind the scenes. If you have a question right now, This is the time to write it. I'll get to it after I read these questions and answer them. Okay. So the first question from Audrey. Thank you, Audrey. Just keeping that streak going. Audrey asks, Orlando, what was your favorite store when growing up? The comic book store. Come on. It's like, I used to have what they call the bag. So every month, I know I've told Dolly the story, right? I told you this story. Every month, I would have certain comics, and the comic book store doesn't exist any longer in the neighborhood. Which is really sad, because I think stores that every neighborhood should have are bookstores and comic book stores. I think every neighborhood should have at least one of each, right? So this comic book store, every month, if you were a really good customer and you bought there all the time, they would give you VIP status. VIP status was you would tell them which comics you were collecting, and every month when they got their inventory in, they would pick your comics out, the monthly of that comic, and put it in a bag separate for you. So you didn't have to go to the store and find your comic. They would separate it and put it in a bag for you. And you had your bag, and your bag had a number with your name. And every month you'd walk in and you'd pay them whatever it cost, because you had a certain amount of comics. Back then, comics were 50. Some of them were 50 cents. It's crazy. And they'd give you your bag of comics. And every month you get a bag of your most recent comics. So that was my favorite store. I lived in that store. That store used to be across PS 69. So I lived in that store. It was, I'd go out right after school, right to that store. It was fun. It was amazing. And it was like, you're walking in, and they had books, of course, because it's a comic book store. So usually those two go together, like books and comic books. But you would step into that store, you're stepping into worlds, dimensions. It's like you just sit there for hours, and they let you read the comics. You can read the comics, even if you weren't going to buy it, you'd read, it's amazing. It's a great store. So that was one of my favorite stores. And bookstores. We had a bookstore. And I had something similar in that one, whereas I would reserve books and then I would pick them up. They would hold a copy for me and I would pick it up and then buy it. Here's the deal. I love libraries, but my main issue with libraries is that I had to give the books back, and I didn't want to give the books back. So I would go to the bookstore and buy my books, and then I could keep all my books. And that was my main issue. So yeah. Okay. Dolly, what song lyric has stuck with you throughout your life? Because I can think of a few, but go ahead.
He's only laughing because I randomly break out in song whenever he says something.
All over.
It turns out to be the lyric of a song
that I don't recognize. I'm like, huh? That's a song? Yeah. And then she pulls it up on YouTube. See? Like, oh, you're right. That is a song. It's just I've never heard your rendition of it.
Okay. I would say, if I had to say, it would be a line that says, "I'm the ace that beat the king." I don't know if that's the.
What song is that?
It's a French song.
Oh, it's a French song. I won't know it if it's a French song.
It's called My Philosophy.
Right, and she's the ace that beat the king.
Yes.
Nice.
I am not a great fan of the patriarchy.
She's not a fan of the patriarchy.
I do not like how some men disrespect, belittle, harass young girls and women. So that's my line.
That's a good line. That's a good line to live by. I like that. Yeah, we don't do patriarchy stuff. So yeah. I mean, you should know that by the way I write women. So okay. Next question. Orlando, have you ever experienced something you can't explain? Jeez, yes, many times. In fact, I can't even explain all the times I've experienced things that I can't explain. That's how many. It's just, yeah, there's a lot in this world, and in reality, that's hard to explain, or that defies explanation. So I've experienced many things, many times that I can't explain. So yes. Okay, Rebecca Birovsek says the 10, Peanut and Cecilia, more please. Yes, that's coming. Don't worry, Rebecca. And Chris asks, what's the difference between a female mage and a sorceress? Yeesh, that's a whole show, Chris, that question. Because then we get into mages and sorcerers and necromancers, and it's all in the manipulation of magic, and the difference is in what is the focus for the energy manipulation. So that's the main difference. Like wizard and mage, what's the difference is the focus. For a wizard, they have a staff or a wand, and for a mage, they are the focus. So it's different. So it's how they manipulate. For sorcery or the mancers like necromancy or all the disciplines that end in mancy, like that, the connotation with those like necromancy or all those disciplines is that it's a little darker, and that it requires a catalyst that's not widely accepted, like blood or someone's life or things like that. So the the mancies, things like that, usually, not always, tend to have a darker aspect to them, which is where sorcery comes in, right? And a mage is considered a little on the lighter side, and a wizard is considered a different discipline that uses an outside focus for the manipulation of energy. So it's a really great question and topic, and you're going to find a whole bunch of different opinions on what each one can mean. And every author, every story has taken their own interpretation of it and twisted it in their own way. And that's what makes urban fantasy so much fun, because you can kind of add your own interpretation, create your own definition, and it's a broad subject, which allows for all this kind of different interpretations, which is awesome. Great question, Chris. Thank you. Rebecca asks, when will Simon come from Frank? In the next Night Warden novel. So we just had Shadowstrut recently. Is the most, I won't say we just. Nocturne Melody was the last one? Oh, Shadowstrut was 2. Nocturne Melody is number 3. So the next Night Warden, Simon has a conversation with Frank. And then Simon realizes in that book how powerful Frank really is. And I think that kind of ends the whole threats that Simon makes. We'll see. Simon doesn't back down easily either. So, yeah. All right, let me get back to topics here. Do you guys have any questions? Let me see. You got lost, Chris? I'm glad you came back. You found your way back. Let's see. I enjoy Spiritual Warriors, reading Who You Were. Oh, yeah. It was, even when I read it now, I don't read it often. I kind of go back every few years, and I'll read like maybe the first one. I'll read a few chapters. It's interesting to see how far I've come in terms of that, because you could see that, Let's see. Heather says, even polishing Heavy Dragons tells me how far. Yeah, you can see how you've grown as a writer, and that's what makes it so interesting and so much fun. You can see your progression as a writer. Yeah. Okay. Jeanette says, I love how it takes nearly an hour to get. It does take nearly an hour to get to the questions. It really does. It's a long time. The Klatsch remains our virtual coffee club. It's an amazing club, and you guys all make it amazing. I thank you so much for being here. It's fantastic. What does Dan say? It must feel good to have created a character that has lived on from those early days to now, with everything you've written since. Yes, it's mind-boggling, actually. And still get lunatics like me badgering for the triumphant return. Yes, because Silk is the man. We know Silk is the man. It's amazing. And he will be back. So I don't know if I can say this. Can I say this? Yeah. All right. So Silk, you've heard it here. I don't know if anyone else knows about it. Silk is part of the 10. That's all I can tell you. So you will see him in the future. So yeah. All right, that's all I can say. Okay. So Jeanette says, Minotaur and Space Age books with my full introduction to comics. Oh, yeah. Is that, I guess that's a company that makes comics over there in the other side of the world, because I never heard of Minotaur and Space Age books. Yeah. I might have 1 or 3 books from the country library where I grew up. Yeah, me too, because I didn't want to give them back, Chris. I was like, why should I have to give it back? I read it, and the librarian disagreed with me. So, I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep my books. I'm going to buy my books. I'm going to keep them. Dolly knew what she was getting into when she met me, because we'd go to Barnes & Noble just to get one book, and we'd come out with bags of books. So technomancy, again, can get dark for sure. So anytime you see that suffix, is that the suffix? The mancy, there's seem, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but there seems to be a darker connotation to the art that's being explained. So yes, technomancy can get dark. Yeah. Intent is important. Yes, intent is important, Audrey. A wheeler can do either internal or external focus. Sure. Depends on the discipline being practiced. This is it's a really deep conversation, Chris. Yeah. Yes, Silk in the 10. Very cool. Treasure hunting books were fun. Yeah. Because I had a few, and I also had the Hardy Boys when I was growing up. Let's see. Now has been, I'm sorry, look at me, Michelle. Oh, your husband, you and your husband did your date night at Barnes & Noble. That's a great place to do a date night. Yeah. We had a Barnes & Noble. All right, so think of how perfect this is. We had a Barnes & Noble that was directly connected to a Starbucks. It doesn't get more perfect than that. Is this still there? No, the Barnes & Noble's gone, right? It's a Target now. But the Starbucks is still there, probably. They're not going to get rid of the Starbucks. Starbucks makes it too lucrative because it was the only one in that area. So, yeah. All right. Is Frank a part of the 10? You've certainly perked my interest on his power level. I mean, trying to transform into a dragon must take a staggering amount of power, even if he didn't quite. No, he's not a part of the 10. I'm sorry. But he's... the story of Frank, and it is written. It's ready. It's just... I have to release it slowly because it's going to have ripples all over the place, not just in the Night Warden. You've seen that Frank has already worked with Monty. So it's going, and you see that Frank and Gray are really tight. They're really close. So it's going to have a ripple effect when Frank's story starts coming out. Yeah. Frank is a mage, not a wizard. But what he tried to do is I guess it's considered transmutation, and so he did something he shouldn't have done, which is why he ended up the way he did. And so yeah, he messed up big time. But then, if you look at Night Warden is a book of outcasts and misfits and broken people, right? If that's the kind of the premise of Night Warden, that everyone who's a member of that story, and like you got Gray, who's broken and he was dying up until the sword. Coda, again, she was discarded by Hades. Cole, there's a whole backstory to Cole that, yeah, that's gonna come back to bite them all in the butt. And you got Frank, who's a failed mage who tried to become a dragon and ended up being a lizard. So the whole story, the whole crew is the crew of like misfits. So very different from Treadwell, which is their crew of basically criminals, which is different. It's not like Gray's crew, because Gray has a really, really, really strong moral compass, right? Whereas Sebastian has a strong moral compass, but for him, the directive is first before everything and anything, which we'll find out in Endgame Tango. So yes, Dan, layers and layers and layers. I imagine him like Salem or Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. Yeah, I guess. I didn't really watch too much of Sabrina. Sorry. Salem is the cat, right? Salem is the cat, I think. Yeah. You would know that. I don't know who the heck Salem is. Gray's crew reminds me of the Bad News Bear. Yeah. Now you're dating yourself, Michelle, because the Bad News Bears was a long time ago. But yes, Gray's crew is like a bunch of misfits. Sebastian's crew are sophisticated criminals. It's a very different kind of group, But yeah, definitely a bunch of misfits. The Bad News Bears who can't do anything right, but yet they managed to get it done properly. It's crazy. All right, it's 12:45. My God, this time just goes by so fast. I don't know how to explain it, except that maybe Sid Rat is involved somehow. Okay. This was a fantastic. You guys, this is the first show of the year, the first Kaffeeklatsch of the year. So it has been amazing. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today, because you guys make this show awesome. If not, it's just probably me and Dolly talking to each other. and having the show. This was great fun. Thank you for the questions as always. Thank you for participating. Thank you for everything. Okay, I'm going to remember this time to put music to close the show, right? Oh, Treadwell, great crossover. That's it's I can't tell you, but it's in the future, okay? Because if anyone can cross over easier, it's Sebastian and Gray. Those two characters have more involvement than any other two characters. So that's gonna be fun. Yeah. You guys are amazing. Thanks so much for being here. Let me put all right, so let's do the way we did it last time, right? We're gonna pick a number from, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So pick a number from 1 to 7, and the one that gets the most votes, that's the one we're gonna close out the show with. So 1 to 7, go. Let's see, 7. I'm giving you 10 seconds. And stop. All right, let's see. We got 7, 5, 5, 5, 4, 7, 7, 5, 7. All right, it's 5. 5. Okay, so let me get 5. 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, number 5. You guys picked the good one, so I'm going to start it now, and we're going to close out, guys. So have a great weekend. Have a great rest of your day. The 3 B's. Remember, be kind, be unstoppable, be uncommon. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for being here for the show. And our next Kaffeeklatsch will be the 26th of January. By that time, we should be discussing tidbits of Corpse Road, which will be a lot of fun. So take care, everyone. Have a great, great weekend. I'm going to start the music, and we're going to close. I'm going to fade out.